Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, in our ongoing study in the philosophy of theism by Borden Parker Bowne, published in 1902. We're going to look at the final 8 pages. Professor Bowne added a little 8-page conclusive section to the manuscript, and since he didn't edit it out and his editor did not choose to edit it out, we need to at least give it a look. It's just a few summary statements at the conclusion of the manuscript, the last 8 pages, 261 to 269, and we'll take a look at moving from theoretical equilibrium to practical positing, and then moving from practical positing to validating our ideals in the return moment in state of mind. And so it's going to be very, very brief, but it'll be our look at his final summary statements. Let's take a look at block 1, moving from the theoretical equilibrium to practical positing. Under theoretical equilibrium, state of mind demands the categories and their implications, and it demands a practical weighing of probabilities. We take an interest in ideal tendencies. Logic and its theoretical equilibrium is transcended to precipitate a practical conclusion. We must move from the theoretical to the practical within the idea of God. So precipitating a practical conclusion. Theoretical intellect supplies some fundamental categories for the idea of God. It provides the form for the idea, such as the attribute of immanent omnipresence that we discussed. But the idea of God must include the ethical attributes as well, such as that moral energia, that energy of realization. A set of ideals arises, stimulated by experience, through marks of wisdom and marks of goodness. Therefore, 3. Theoretical equilibrium and practical conclusion equal realization. The eidos ideals determine our entire mental procedure. We seek to demonstrate those eidos ideals in actual experience. In this way, we sustain our concept of the idea of God as perfect wisdom and perfect goodness. That takes us on to block 2, where we will look at the other side of the dialectic, moving from practical positing to validating our ideals in return moment, which goes back to state of mind, that re-internalization and state of mind. We begin with implicit faith. Our implicit faith in our eidos ideals becomes the foundation of our initial state of mind or conviction, our motivational base. Our task is to work out these ideals as a conquest of modern life. That's the way he words it in the conclusion, as a conquest of modern life. Theism as a category arises. So note 2, moving from faith to theism, we posit the notion of world as manifestation of supreme righteousness, of supreme being. We negate the atheism that asserts that thought is produced by necessity. He always, throughout the manuscript, negated the idea of a materialistic necessity. Our faith is a product of the world ground as cause. Therefore, note 3, faith and theism bring about the idea of God. Our theoretical model is responsible for its implications. That becomes the rise of obligation. The problem of knowledge applies to the idea of God as an obligation to seek realization and validity for our posited eidos ideals. And this validity of our theoretical model is ongoing dialectical process in the dialectic of righteousness. And remember, he says that is directed toward state of mind. We change the world through changing hearts, through changing state of mind. So, very brief, basically he just gives us 8 pages of conclusive statements. Our last lesson was really a true last lesson, but this one, we can't refuse to look at it. The editor decided to keep it in, so these final 8 pages deserve a little quick look. But basically, we're looking at the two sides of the dialectic, the going out of the self and then the return to the self. We go out of the self. We begin with that theoretical model. Remember, that theoretical model takes the eidos ideals, shapes them into system, and after shaping them into system, comes under obligation that this model must be proclaimed. It must be proclaimed in proclamation and in demonstration. Demonstration of righteousness, remember? So, of necessity, we must go out of the theoretical and move into the practical. That means moving into the realm of positing. And from the previous lesson, remember, Professor Bowne told us we always are directing our positing towards state of mind. We want other individual persons to recognize what we're positing as the truth and as the real, but we focus down the theoretical to the practical, and that's called phronesis, practical wisdom, which informs our praxis choice or praxis ministry. And remember that for Bowne, he says that's a declaration of our faith. He considers positing a declaration of faith in word and in action both. But it is a positing that will include a return moment, because there's always a surplus of in these marks of wisdom and these marks of goodness, and in the midst of ministry we have an epistemological gain because we discovered new truth, new wisdom, new goodness, and we have to re-internalize this discovery through ministry and address state of mind, which is the motivational base of conviction, our Sophia wisdom of the heart. We have to address that, and by that revision and alteration, that's going to affect the next systemization of our eidos ideals. We're going to revise our theoretical model. It's going to be slightly modified. As we grow in maturity in the faith, it's going to be a more mature picture of the kingdom of God. And then again, we'll have to go out of the self again in the practical positing. And that, remember, we just discussed it in the previous lesson, but the realm of positing is also, for Bowne, the realm of transcendence. And I agree with that. Hegel brought that notion up, and Bowne agrees with Hegel's position there, that the realm of positing is the realm of the real, and the realm of positing is the realm of transcendence. This is where eternal mind enjoins with finite mind, and we narrow theoretical model to practical phronesis and enter into ministry and praxis of action and reflection. Remember, praxis is action and reflection in a particular historical situation. Very concrete notion. So that gives you, it's even under 10 minutes. I knew it was going to be very, very short. But add this to the previous lesson and you'll have the total final lesson. But we could not ignore these last 8 pages, so that gives you just a quick little summation of his little summation on from pages 261 to 269.